Alrighty, folks, we have heard a lot of people, myself included, share information from folks on their deathbed. We talked just yesterday about a nurse sharing her 4 takeaways from folks on their deathbed, right? What are their regrets? I want to flip the script. We're going to have 3 people who earned financial independence before they were 55. I think that's correct. And we're going to talk about, do we have any regrets? Do we have any advice? What are the things that people should share that have 30 years, 40 years, hopefully 50 years ahead of us of financial independence? We always go in the orders that people showed up. So that means, Dion, you get to go first.
So I know we're going to go round robin and go over a couple, and I won't start with the depressing one first. How's that?
Okay, I appreciate it.
Okay. The first one is probably the hardest to believe, but we get the the deathbed question of what do you regret? What would you go back and change? We see the memes on social media. If you could say 3 words to your 18-year-old self, what would you do? But the outcome of reaching financial freedom at 48 and then retiring at 52 after 4 more years of just, I love my job, but wow, that time freedom, that won out eventually. I would be afraid of altering anything, that the outcome might be different, right?
Yeah, the timeline, right? It's a butterfly effect. You do something different early and the whole timeline blows up.
Yeah, it sucks that I didn't start until 40. It sucks that it took a decade, right? But it happened. And now I have a minimum 15 years of the go-go retirement.
Yeah, minimum.
Maybe more. And then 10 years of the go slow. And compared to, I was on track to do that, to work until 70. So
yeah,
I'm glad I started when I did. I'm glad of the outcome I had. Ironically, no regrets. Nothing I would go back and change.
You know, it's really funny because I think about it all the time. You know, you started at 40, I started at 30. You know, I've admitted many times my 30s were, you know, full spend. But yeah, I think about that timeline effect all the time, right? You know, okay, great. You buy a 4-plex at 20. Does that send you on a new path? You know, and you get stupid at 25 and you blow up. It's a great concept. But Matt, what do you got for number 1?
There's a lot to choose from. There's a lot to choose from. I mean, honestly, it's, you know, there is, I really I just have no regrets. I have not missed my job for one day. I've not missed the imbeciles.
Do you regret not retiring a year earlier? Do you regret that?
So Ash and I had actually talked about it a couple days ago, or a couple nights ago. We were talking, and it was, we don't, so the butterfly effect, like you were talking about, we don't know the reason why, but I had all of the plans. I was going to retire, within a few months of Eliana being born. Because Ash was she was coming off of not retiring from being a nurse, but putting it on sabbatical, taking a sabbatical from being a nurse. And for me, I said, you know what, this is great. Like, baby, I get to be at home with the baby. Like, I was thrilled because I got to be home with my older 2 kids. And I got to be home with them a lot, but I was still working crazy ton amount, you know, and it was a very different life. It was, you know, up at 5:30 or 6 and then spending time with family and then working by 7:30 and then lunch break with the kids and then dinner at 6 and then putting them to bed at 7 and then putting the wife to bed at 9 and then working until midnight. And that was the day every single day. And it looked a lot like that on, you know, 6 days a week. And then Sundays it would kind of be rest, but you're just done.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, right. Like, you're just like, Sundays, you're just like, what do you want? I don't care. What do you want?
I don't care. I don't want to move.
Yeah. Throw it at my face. I don't care. Like, do we have a diaper? I might not even want to get up and do that today, you know? And so it was just all of those things. And so I looked at retiring, you know, probably I would have been 44 if I'd retired when Eliana came. But then she got sick in month 4. Right. Month 4, she got sick, and that just altered our world for 2 years, you know? And so
totally get it. Yeah.
The funny thing is we don't know the reason why. Like, we don't, and we're okay with that. We're people of faith. And so we recognize that life comes and no one's different and everyone gets life's tribulations. And so for us, for whatever reason, I just felt like at that point, it was like, I need to balance everything because, you know, I think that anybody that's working for a smaller company that thinks that loyalty matters, I promise you, you are far more loyal to them than they are to you.
Amen to that. Amen to that. So it's funny. All three of us really have no regrets.
No.
Again, that whole timeline thing, being done at 45, not a bad thing. Being done at 30 might've been a better thing, but you just don't know. Right.
Yeah.
I think about this all the time. I've said this repeatedly, and I'll probably say it here. The one thing, I guess there's two things. If you talk about deals,
Yeah.
I regret not doing a fourplex or even a duplex when I was 20 years old. I think 20 was when I had the income enough to buy like house hack, like you guys did.
Mhm.
And I think about that. Let's say it was 20. It would have been 1992. And in the Bay Area duplex, it would have been affordable, which just seems crazy. But
Yeah.
to your butterfly effect, I mean, that could have sent me on a whole new path that allowed me to build something. And then I explode in the, Great Recession. I could have been bankrupt and out of the game because I would have been addicted, a deal maker. I would have thought everything I touched turned to gold. And then bingo bango, I'm bankrupt in 2007. That could have been the outcome.
Yeah. It was the outcome for a lot of people, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it was even some smaller ones, Mike, with like the 125% loan to values and some of that silly stuff that's now actually working itself back into the market. Holy cow. But
yeah, I think about that huge stock market loss because again, we start buying pre-run up. Everything we buy basically doubles, right? The 8 houses I write about in my book basically double if you average them out. And if I hadn't had that stock market loss, I probably don't go to the Bruce Norris event titled California Crash. The reason I go to California Crash is because I lost 80% of my stack before, and I didn't want to do that again.
The original Crash Bro.
Exactly. Well, shit, you can't call him a Crash Bro. He's right. The guy called it, nailed it.
Yeah. The OG who actually got it right.
Exactly. And he's not calling one now. Every year he puts on a event. I've been virtually the last couple of years. And I always go because like, are you saying it now? Are you saying it now?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think about that fourplex at 20 and I'm like, dude, you could have been financially free earlier and still blow up.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So
of course.
I agree with all of you guys. And then the last thing, there was this one 10plex I was trying to buy and during the bottom that I would have had to use my emergency, like my emergency stack to buy. And Olivia said no. In hindsight, we could have done it, but it would have been too close to the bone and could have caused a cascading effect. So she was right. But I still think about that 10plex all the time. It's like, we could have got one more.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, exactly. You're right, honey, but damn it, it would have worked out.
For us, it's worse because I make Ashley drive past them still.
That's true. We're too far away. It's not worth it. But I've done that.
Remember that one, babe? Yeah, that one. Yeah, that's $1 million. Yeah.
It's funny. That's exactly how I feel when I go to my paid off property.
Yeah.
In my head, I call it, this could have been a fourplex.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Yeah,
You're not
exactly
wrong.
right. Exactly right.
So again, kind of step one is we don't have no regrets, which is really, really cool. Dion, let's go. What's your second kind of concept?
So if somebody came to me on my hospice bed, hopefully many, many, many weeks from now, not soon, and asked me, what wisdom do you have to give to the younger people? Right. That's the game here. I would cover the number 19. I would go into a little bit of detail. I would take, at least a couple of minutes and talk about, I learned it too late from my parents and just in time for my kids. So hopefully whoever I'm helping, you can learn this in time for your parents and your kids. We get about 18 years as we're growing up with our parents. And then if you took the rest of our life, family night, game night, family trips, whatever, you're going to get about another year with your parents, about 19 years. With your kids, they live with you till they're 18. And then you take the rest of your life and you're going to get family night, game night, family trips, and get about another year. If we retire early, so I retired at 52. Both my parents had already passed, so I don't get to have more than that 19 years with them. I had about 19 years with them. Good relationships with both of them. But my kids currently work full-time schedules, having spouses, no kids or anything, but they have a busy life. My schedule's open. I know my son is off Tuesday, Wednesday. I've got a daughter that's off Saturday, Sunday. I've got a daughter with revolving days off. I can always look at my schedule and just reach out and go, hey, you're off this day. How about we go and do a, nice short 5-mile, not too vertical hike, because I'm not you anymore. My daughter's summiting Mount Rainier, tries to kill me every time we go on a hike. But I get all this extra time. I'm getting way more than 1 year with my kids because I don't have the work schedule to 65. And so I would hope people would take that to heart and understand whether it's your family or your friends, but the relationships that you can have more quality time with and not be in hospice looking back and going, I wish I had more time with friends and family.
Yeah, folks, we got to come up with a name for this. Again, one of the things I learned from Brandon Turner's interview is he names this thing. So I don't know if we want to call this the Dion's rule of 19 or whatnot. Let me know in the comments below. But Dion, we got to take your Dionisms and start naming them simple, sexy names, because this stuff's got to stick. The rule of 19 is amazing. And think about it. If you take the rule of 19, which is the average, and it becomes 21, that's an extra 10% time with your kids. I think that's amazing. We've got to name these things, man.
So here's how important it is to me. If you took it from 19 to 21, that's a 300% increase of the quality adult interaction.
Correct.
With just that 19th year, that you're not forming them as a human or watching them become.
It's different. It's
so important to me.
Oh, I love that. So we got to name that thing. I love that. All right, Matt, what do you got?
I mean, I think, for us, one of the things that has always been important for us is to give back. And so it's hard to give back. It's definitely more sacrificial, and it's harder to give back out of lack. When you lack of whatever, whether it's money or time or whatever it is. I think the coolest thing that you can do once you do get retired early is you get to give back that much more. Field trip chaperones, watching other people's kids while they have to go do X, Y, or Z. Them being shocked and like, what, you're available during the day? Yeah. I'm available every day.
You can help me out at 11 a.m.
Exactly.
What?
Yeah. Or they're like, hey, what fits your schedule? I was like, pretty much whatever. And
let me look. I got nothing on it.
Exactly. And so just being the one that's able to be that time flexible. And, I know Dion knows this. I know you know this. I know that we practice this in life, is that you give more than you get, and you just constantly give. And that's what, but you don't give, you give not with condition, but you give with an expectation only that they will use it to better themselves, and that you want to help them on that path. And so for us, it's like, I don't know if I could keep the schedule that I do outside of the job. That's outside of, working 50 and 60 hours a week. My body was done. My mind was done. But most importantly, my heart was done with that being the life split. Right. So I think I look at it now and just go, when that, day finally comes way in the future, I'll be able to say, you know what? I spent far more of my life giving than I did anything else. And that's what, that's what I'll be happiest about.
Yeah. I guess the next one for me, and Dion has another Dionism, again, giving him credit, is it only takes 10 years, right? My whole wealth formula, which I've shared for years, step 3 is the one that pisses people off. And it's like, you got to do it for a decade. You can't do it for 5 years. You can't do this. It's a decade, right? But if you do it from 20 to 30, I know it feels like a long time because it's a 30-year life. But if you start at 40 like Dion, it's, this. I mean, it's just, you get so much on the other side. I know living below your means is not fun. I know that your friends and family may make fun of you. I know this. I know that. I lived through it. There were people, again, I've told the story, Dion, Matt, this. We went to a housewarming party of somebody who worked for me, who lived in a bigger house in a better area, looked on paper to be way more successful, and it almost broke me. It almost broke me. We were right there in the last mile. It almost broke me. And I just want people to know, as the 3 of us have been through it, it's a freaking decade. I'm sorry. It takes time for compounding and lessons learned and better decisions. And just go into this knowing it's a 10-year game. I didn't know that. When I started this, is the whole reason I wrote the damn book, One Rental at a Time, is like, I've never read a book from start. Like, what'd you do? How long did it take? Because One Rental at a Time is not a how-to book. It's one guy's revisiting history, looking at the good and the bad, because there's a lot of bad in the beginning, right? A lot of, the first tenant I ever had screwed me, right? So it's the number 2 for me is the game is worth it. The shot clock, to use a sports ball analogy, is 10 years. But you got to start the clock, right? Get in the game. So that's number 2 for me.
So the Dionism there that I would relate that to is a video I have coming out probably in about a week called The Work-Life Rebalance. And that's taking away the focus of people working for the weekend, working for the vacation, thinking, I don't want to work 12-hour days. I want to work 10. I want to work 4 10s, not 5 8s. And they think work-life balance is doing something outside of work. And I think the work-life balance it's a decade of work.
Yes.
Of all of the stuff that sucks, the overtime, the side hustle, everything.
Yes.
That's the work. The life part is everything that comes after that.
Again, think about that. Think about the genius in that. If you go from 20 to 30, which I hope most people do, you spend a decade of grinding. When you're the healthiest, you can rebound. Your body doesn't break down. You're basically made of plastic. And then from 30 to certainly 80, look at that return, a decade for 50 fucking years. I'll make that trade every time.
Yeah. And the normal way of looking at it is, if I get one pension in 20 years, another pension in 20 years, that's 40 years of work. Of course, you need a work-life balance there. You will be wiped out if you don't. But if you can have that decade of focus and then get the 50 years. So Matt brought up a really good point on advice I would give to younger people is when I reached a level of success, was running the CDL school, founded a nonprofit that did job placement assistance. I thought I was helping people. I would help people find a job. I would create positions in my company to hire people that would then grow the company, right? I would help as many people as I could. I was being used in a way that had a limit. I only had so much time. I only had so many people who could run the nonprofit. I only had so many positions. I only had so many outreach companies that I could help people get a job with. And so every time I helped somebody, it diminished me. Versus reaching financial freedom, helping people get on the property ladder, sharing the information. It's almost like instead of diminishing me, this revitalizes. When I talk with somebody like Frank or Michelle or Curtis or Dividend Dave, and we're interacting about the duplex that they started their house hack in, or their next purchase, or the new market that Frank is in, or something like that, it doesn't take away from me. And there is no limit to how much of that I can do to help people. So the advice would be, if you find a way to help people that also adds to your energy, you've solved life.
You win. Winner, chicken dinner. Love that. All right, Matt.
No spending will feel as good as investing in 5 years.
Tell me more.
Go 5 more years and it becomes hard to start spending again. But I love it.
We got to graduate, Dion. We got to graduate them first. So the idea is that very often, and it's something where I see it with people in their 20s consistently in 30s. Yes, 40s and 50s, but at that point, like you need to really want to change something like Dion did, and so on your 20s and your 30s, I see people spend all the time. I'm like, yeah, so what? Yeah, so what? Yeah, so what? Or yeah, I want, or yeah, I deserve, or yeah, I win. Yeah, I need. And they're very confused at all those words. None of those words are what those words are. You're entitled. You're being a baby. And you think you deserve something. You don't deserve anything. I never deserved anything in any of the roles that I was in. I worked the hardest. I produced the most. And that meant that I got to play another day, because any boss that would have gotten rid of me would have been silly. And I would have gone to his direct competitor and I would have crushed him on purpose. That's how it goes. So if you take the same concept to the way that people are spending now today, there's that temporary dopamine hit. There's the whatnot. There's the eBays. There's all of these things. And that fills something in your life. but you need to fill it with something that doesn't require this immediate spend that has no dividend. You need to be investors, and the investing mindset wins. It's really funny that most people look at teachers as poor. They're some of the most financially rich people when they retire.
Absolutely. I mean, if you read Millionaire Next Door, they're the highest percentage of millionaires, teachers.
There you go. And so you just people need to look at life differently. And if you need to live in the present, and you need to always live in the present, and that's the only way that you can live, then you are going to die in the present. You are going to die, and you are not going to have what you need. And you're likely a selfish a-hole that's going to become a burden to your children because you didn't need it. It didn't need to happen. It wasn't something you ever thought about, and all of these other things. And the great divide between the rich and the poor is not income. It is assets. That is the great divide.
Assets. Absolutely.
It's assets. And that's what everybody misses. And that's why spending over a 5-year period will never feel as good as investing over a 5-year period.
Yeah. Inflation's a feature, not a bug. Once you understand that, it's about securing assets. Again, if we just keep this idea of the decade involved, you can do all the spending you want after 10 years, but you got to have this decade, right? To your point, nothing feels good. And I'm going to keep focusing on that decade. Yeah. Diversification is freaking nonsense, right? If you're going to be in this grind mode, you're going to have a day job, you're going to have a side hustle, you're going to be doing everything you can to stack paper. You only have that much time to become elite, to take a word that you gave me 5 years ago, Matt. That's your word. Elite at something.
Mm-hmm.
And then you do that for a decade. Diversification is nonsense. Once you have financial freedom, you want to take 1% of your net worth, throw it at crypto. You want to go play the stock market. You want to go start a small business. Great. But don't do this. I hate when I hear people talk about 7 streams of income. Yes, I have 7 or 8 streams of income. I didn't have that until after I was done.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity to go, let's write a book. Let's do this. Let's do that. Right. If you're in grind mode, you're in that decade of hustle, that decade of work.
Mike, how many years was Curry in the league before he won his first championship? 5?
5
or 6?
Yeah, 5 or 6. 5 or 6. Yeah.
How many was Jordan?
6.
Yep. The list is long and distinguished. These guys weren't throwing temper tantrums at 24, 25, 26 years old going, I deserve a championship. I deserve a championship. They just kept on working, and they didn't win anything. And they just kept on working. And then once they started winning, they didn't stop. I think
the greatest example, if you want to talk about the Bulls and Jordan, was the Detroit Pistons. Literally beat them up.
Kicked the crap out of them 2 years in a row.
Literally 2 years in a row. And if you his coaches, was it Tim? Why am I missing?
Which coach?
Met him.
Phil Jackson?
No, his physical.
His strength coach.
Yeah, Tim something. Anyways,
okay.
Let me know in the Grover. I've met him. He's a great guy. But anyways, he said the day after, and it wasn't the day after the second loss. It was the day after that. So 2 days later, he was in the gym like a madman because he knew he had to build his body up. And that's what it takes. So, you just got to keep going. It's a decade, folks. It's worth it. I don't care if it's from 20 to 30, or in my case, 30 to 40, or Dion's from 40 to 50. It's there for you. So let's keep this going. Let's do at least one more. What do you got next, Dion?
So this is more of a concept that it's hard to get people to understand when you're not there yet. And I think one of the most important things to do when we look back at life, and I'm going to say this, and I know it's going to break some brains. The faster you can make money not matter, the better your life will be.
Oh, yeah.
And it comes down to, there's so many people who are concerned with, what if Social Security gets cut or becomes insolvent, right? Make it not matter.
Yeah.
Make it not part of your plan. It's gravy.
That's right.
I have a sister-in-law who I cannot talk money with and have not talked to very much, but I know she watches my content.
Yeah.
Because there was a time where she says, all you do is talk about money. Well, we don't talk, so how do you know I only talk about money? So I tried to explain to her in the really simple terms of why I had to make money not matter. And I said, look, I understand how you live. You guys aren't doing bad, but you've had the kids, you run a business. You guys have to think of every penny. So I know that when you fill your tank, I've been with you guys. You are thinking, do I fill the gas tank or do I put in $40 because I have a cell phone bill due? Or you have to think about money. When I fill my tank, because I thought about money for a decade, I never have to think about it again. I put the pump in, I stare off into the distance, and I actually just wait for it to click that it's full. And I don't think about the money that's going into the car because I made money not matter. And I go back to the LeBron quote that I say every now and then. When you don't have enough, money is the only thing. And once you have enough, it's just a thing. As soon as you can make it just a thing, it's actually easier to save and invest.
Mm-hmm.
You're just looking at numbers on a chart, kind of like if there's any gamblers in the here, take the emotion out. What are the odds? What are the statistics? What's the numbers? How do you do this? So as counterintuitive as it sounds, we should all be on the path to, as quickly as possible, make money not matter.
Yeah, I love that one. Love that one. Matt, you got one more?
Here's how little money mattered to me this year. In full transparency, I just finished my taxes. Guess how much money I made last year? And I will share this actual number. Guess how much money I made this last year, 2024.
Are we talking top line or net? Just so
we're talking net.
Oh, I don't know.
Did you get it all the way down to zero with the right?
Dion gets zero. No. This is no tax gimmicks. This is actual money. Actual real money.
Real, not nominal. Okay.
Real. Yeah.
I don't know. I'll say 200.
I made 200. Dion, you say I made zero?
No, I was using depreciation and write-offs in there.
Oh, yeah,
what you made?
Yeah.
1.1.
I made negative $269,000 in 2024. No games playing, no tax, anything. Legitimately, balance sheet. I lost 259 or 69. I don't even remember the number. 259, 269.
You're something like 100,000 a month going out in rehab, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and more. Like I was just like, apparently I'm a really good buyer and spender. Apparently, this is what I found out about myself. But what's really funny is the reason why I say that is to back up what Dion said, but then to put the cherry on top, which is to say, I didn't live my life any differently. And the cool part is that because I did it the way that I did it, because I did it based on a healthy business. Mm-hmm. Some might say, well, that's not a healthy business. I can tell you this, in 2025, we will have the greatest year that we've ever had. And then some.
Yeah. What people need to realize is you went through, I don't know, let's call it $500,000 in remodels and cause that's all cash. That's all
way more, way
big,
like well into the millions, the millions.
Yeah. So that money doesn't get spent twice. So 25, 26, 27, it's about it all coming back.
Yep. But you have to do two things. One is you have to be able to live like that.
Yep.
Which is we didn't change our lifestyle at all.
Nope.
And two is you have to have a healthy enough business that you can make that level of investment in yourself and what you're trying to do to then be able to say, you know what? It's okay. We're not measuring things week to week. We're measuring things year to year at best. And we're taking multiple years into account where we say, yeah, honestly, I'll be honest. I was completely shocked. I said, well, I was like, I might suck at this.
Yeah.
And then Ashley goes, look at all the money in rehab. And I go, yeah, I know. And I was like, and it wasn't even like,
there's no depreciation in the negative 200.
Nothing.
So then you get to depreciate and carry forward a loss.
Yes, I do.
Yes,
I do. A big loss. So yeah, Bob Langworthy's working the books. He's finishing them up. But yeah, that's what we're going to have fun with. But you can't do that if you haven't built something.
Right.
You can't take deposit out of an account that doesn't exist. So people have to start. And yeah, 10 years, but let's fast forward, Mike, you're 25 years now, right?
What do you mean? 20? Oh,
25 years in. Like,
oh yeah. Investing.
Yeah. And I'm 23 or 24 or something like that. Well, this is the business that can do that. Did you think about business at all when you were gone for 3 weeks on your cruise? Exactly. No. Not a bit. Not one. The slightest.
Not one.
And that's awesome. Like that is, forget about time freedom. That's mind freedom. Like it really is something that's set and forget, and you don't even have to think about it.
Yeah. So guys, get ready for one more. We're going to go around one more after I give mine, just so you're not surprised. Sure. The last one, or the second to last one for me, is no one's coming to save you, right? No one's coming to save you. It's all on you. It's all choices. Mm-hmm. If you choose to buy the stupid car when you're 20, like I did, that's on you. If you choose to get 5 years into this and then pivot and go buy the big house like one of my friends did, that's on you. If you come into this betting on appreciation and the market goes sideways, that's on you. This is you and your core family. You got to be in it to win it. And again, I don't mean to harp on this again. It was already said, but be said again. It's a decade of this going that direction. And, I think one of the saddest things I've seen is a buddy of mine who was kind of copycatting Olivia and I, did it for 5 years. He was in that 5 years of suck, was basically just getting to break even and, all of that. And he's like, sold everything, took all the equity he had, threw it in the big house. And I'm like, great. The house is beautiful, but now you got to work for 30 years.
Right.
Right. So no one's coming to save you is my second to last one. Dion.
Yeah. So Matt talks about often, we've worked all in management roles, and your business runs better. Your company will perform better if you hire slow, really vet your hired, build your team, but fire fast.
Yes.
If we're doing this, looking back on life, how much better your life would be once you realize somebody is a negative return on your life. You're not a positive return to them either. It's not like I can help somebody even though they're not going to like it and it's going to help them. The toxic, negative relationships that people have for decades.
Yeah.
Right. Year after year after year, you could see it in their face and I was kind of going to go with, choose the right spouse is one of the most important things you can do for your financial, your life, your happiness and everything. But it's not just your spouse.
Exactly.
You choose your neighbors, where you live, the area that you live in. You choose the people you work with, how long you have to work with them. And Matt said it earlier, they're going to replace you like that.
Oh,
and
you'll be a forgotten memory in a week.
Yes.
He would never watch more than 10 minutes of my videos, but the previous owner of the company that I worked at, and I haven't shared this yet because this one actually kind of hits the feels. When I worked there, he was in another state. I was running his company. I had autonomy. I made the nonprofit. I was making him millions. And when we answered the phone, he had this, 1940s accent. And he would go, Dion, Dion, Dion. And he would say that when he would answer the phone, and then we'd have whatever conversation we'd having. After I turned in my notice, I was riding in the truck with the guy who was replacing me. If you're in the military, you'll get a kick out of the name. But the guy who replaced me, his name is Jody. Phone in the truck rings, company truck. Jody answers the phone. Owner goes, Jody, Jody, Jody. And I felt so replaced before I was even done working there. And I was like, Matt's 100% right.
Matt nailed it. Yep. Yeah.
Hire slow, fire fast. Get rid of the things in your life that aren't positive or aren't bringing you things that you need.
Yeah. Fire. I say it's fire your friends. Just you've got to control those top 5 people around you. One of them could just pull you in. It's crabs in a bucket, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, dude, you got to fire fast. Dude, it's crazy. It's not something I didn't think about until after I retired. It was crazy. So yeah, Matt.
I think that, like Dion and I would talk a lot just because we had the same kind of owner. What was really funny was, I sold their company. I held on for a year to do it. I had the deal fall apart a couple of times. I stayed to make sure that the people that I had hired and the ones that I had mentored and the ones that I brought through the company, that they would be okay. I got the company sold, and I was getting a share, and I opened my account the next morning, and it was a fifth what we had talked about. A fifth. And all the way along, they were like not like mom and dad, but sort of like mom and dad. Like it was just, we had 17 years I'd worked for them, 17 years I built their company. You know, they didn't have to do anything. They just collected a check. And so what was really funny was I basically told the new company, I'm not coming to work unless I get the rest of it. So you figure that out. So they paid it after 3 or 4 days. It got paid. I have still to this day never heard from those old owners that I sold their company for. So, and I touched, to give you an idea, I touched 89% of their revenue. I touched 89% in some way, shape, or form, whether it was a contract review or whatever. I touched it. So if you think you're in that position, like Dion, who grew the company from 6 to 60 and to tens of millions of dollars, and the same for me, if you think that you're more valuable to your company, I promise you, you're not. You need to make sure that you get it in writing. You need to make sure that the juice is worth the squeeze for you, because when they're staring at, and I don't know I think Dion's owners are much in the same position I am. They kind of like live in retirement, that every single thing is dollars and cents. And even though you might not judge your life like that, they do. And people are expendable.
Yeah. And
it's a shame, but it's true. And I thought I might be special. Forget it. Not special. Not special.
Yeah. Yeah. That I mean, you're 100% right. And
sadly.
I wish, sadly, it sucks. It sucks to think that, but that's just the reality.
It is what it was.
I guess the last one I'll go to, and I just want to keep harping on this 10-year thing, is I never want people to forget that the first 5 years suck. The first 5 years suck, right? You haven't had time to see the compounding. The biggest mistakes you'll likely make will happen in those first 5 years. The system will test you. I really do believe the system, this financial freedom thing, I think it tests you in this first 5 years. Like, how bad do you want it, stupid? Like, I'm going to throw you, in hindsight, what will be a crumb of a problem, but it's going to feel like a boulder to you. And I think it does that, right? I go back to that first tenant, which I was so happy to get in our first unit that never paid a second month and 3 months to evict, and 10 or 15 grand in damage. And I mean, that could have been the thing. That could have been the thing. And I'd sadly still be working. And it's not fair. I wish I could make it go faster. But again, if you know the game is a decade and you know that the first 5 years are the hardest, every year that you get by, you're 20% through, right? The first 5 years. So, I mean, that's the last thing, I think about. Dion, you have any closing thoughts?
So those first 5 years suck. And actually you gave me a title, and I'm going to script out a whole video on this. We all have a lot of levers that we can pull early on, and you shouldn't pull the levers too soon. Those first 5 years are very slow because you're going to make your largest mistakes. So don't take out home equity to buy your first rental when you don't know how to run the numbers, how to analyze a market, which asset class performs, how to screen tenants, find a lease, maintain tenants. Like all those things you've got to learn. Don't empty out your retirement accounts to buy a rental and take all of those years of savings and pay the penalty and pay the taxes to put the money to work because you find about this new shiny thing in real estate. Like all of these levers, and I'm going to have to go through and build a comprehensive list of those things that, in the beginning, it sucks, it's slow, but there's some barriers there on purpose. An example is lenders saying, we want you to work in a field for at least 2 years before we consider you bankable. Ooh, you don't even know if you like that field yet in the first 6 months, and you could change. Why would the bank take the risk? We don't want to use as much of your rental income in your debt to income ratio until you have it on your tax returns for a couple of years. These are barriers that a large industry looked at and said, where do most of the failures happen? Where do we lose the most money? It's when we take risks on people who haven't vetted themselves yet into this. So when you're starting, as much as it sucks, it's okay to go a little slower than you're going to want to.
Love that. And they can find you at
Dion Talk Financial Freedom here on YouTube, where I do a live stream every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, where, like last night, I teach people things like How to Learn the Language of Money.
Love that. Lumberjack, Matt, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, the only closing thought is I think the most important one, and the one that we kind of lived by, which was no spending in 5 years will feel as good as investing has. And I think that people need to change and make that mindset shift, or just be a grown up. Like, be a grow up. Like, you know, have your toys funded, have your lifestyle funded, all of that stuff. But yeah, I think if people just focus on that, I think that literally that can carry you through everything. Recognize that everything that you need to do needs to be an investment. And no, don't cop out and say, well, this is for my mental health, is the investment that I'm making in a Starbucks. Like, build a bridge and get over it. Like, life gets harder from here. So Lumberjack Landlord, 9 p.m. Eastern time on Thursdays, 6 p.m. Pacific. We just answer your questions as they come up.
That's amazing. Well, guys, what I want everybody to kind of closing, if you made it to the end, I want all of you watching this to know it's possible for you. I've talked to people who were on Section 8, people in the military. It's all possible. There's not a circumstance that you can't get to the end of financial freedom. You need to know it's a decade. You need to know the first 5 years suck. If you have kids, the rule of 19 is amazing, where we started this whole thing. And I guess the last thing is I'll tell you is it's worth it. It is freaking worth it. And I want to see you guys get there, but you got to start. You got to get through the 5 years. Focus, discipline, all the stuff that we talk about. That is one rental at a time. If you haven't bought the book, go buy the book. Thanks, guys.
Ciao.